Is it too minimalist? I don't think it
No,
is. No, I don't think it
no,
is.
not at all.
I was recording some stuff with my kids, which I'll have to play for you. I think you'll like it, but it got my levels all messed up.
What were the children involved? What was the involvement of the children?
They were singing, by which I mean screaming into a microphone, anyone they could find. It's a miracle they don't instantly break everything. But like you got to start them getting you.
Mm,
You have to be like, well, this is the thing that you need to be respectful of because it's expensive and breakable. Versus this is the thing that is, not too expensive for you. I don't want to be the parent that's like, oh, I've got my guitars or my music stuff. Don't touch it because you'll hurt it. It's like, I mean, there is a guitar I don't want you to touch because it's 50 years old and came out of a trash can and got, recovered and is genuinely fragile. The rest of the stuff, like, I buy it so that it gets played, not so it sits there and gets looked at.
yeah,
They just don't know. Treat it like a trampoline.
yeah. There aren't too many things that I own. In fact, I'm having a hard time coming up with any that I'm worried about the fate of the thing.
Do you have a camera? Like an old timey, I'm gonna strap it around my neck, put it in a case, and it'll be like, let me get my camera to take a picture of that.
No.
So I didn't know this. I'm sorry. This what this isn't on the docket for discussion. But I have a camera, and I like take the camera with my uncle who's a photographer, and he's like, yeah, you got to be pretty careful with them. And I'm like, well, yeah, there's this spot on the lens that got there, and he's like, yeah, you got to keep a filter on it all the time. And I'm like, it's just I have a camera that I carry with me all the time, and I toss it in my pocket, and it's no big deal. He's like, yeah, well, it's not. These aren't like that. They're very fragile. I'm like, well, I don't want it to be. I don't want it to be fragile. Why?
Yeah.
I don't want to. Why do I have to have it be fragile? Because I'm not that good at taking pictures with it. And what I find with the big boy grown up camera that costs hundreds of dollars and does nothing but takes pictures, the menus are horrible and hard to use and hard to understand. The file sizes are colossal, and the pictures are fine. To be fair, it's a lot of it's user error. Like, I don't know how to use it, but still, I can take some pretty good pictures with an iPhone.
So you've sent me a handful of pictures, mostly of your children or one of your children, like exploring outdoors.
Yeah,
And you have an eye for it.
it's not. I
So
mean, it's not an eye. It's practice. Like I did photography as a hobby when I was in high school. Then I kind of got away from it. So I mean,
you have
it's
an eye.
like,
You have an eye for it.
are you a photographer?
Lord no. I see colors. I see color. Like I'm not a people photographer. Like I don't take, and I think it's back to mostly I don't care to be. But I like. Okay, so my thing, like when I've done it 3 times, so it's can
It's
it
your thing.
really be
It's
constant?
your
It's my
thing.
thing.
Yeah, no, it's your thing.
Is I like I don't know why and I don't care, but I'm satisfied by taking pictures of neat signs in foreign countries. So when I'm overseas, I find all of the signs that I can find, and that's what I like to. I can take good pictures of signs.
Well, you joke, or I mean, you're laughing here, but I have a different friend who was a professional photographer for a while. I have two friends who are pro photographers, and one of them specializes now in family portraits, and the other one is not a professional photographer anymore, but was a professional photographer. And his specialty, he did wedding, and then he did a handful of other things. But what I learned from both of these professional photographer friends, as well as, I don't know, researching it a little bit, um, I discovered that most photographers specialize. I know the world right now is like, yeah, Russ, we get it. Welcome to being the last one to know. But if I want to take a picture of my kid playing soccer, totally different set of techniques, skills,
Yeah.
equipment. By the way, bring more money if you want to take pictures of sports. Uh,
Yeah.
it's not the same stuff that you would use to take pictures of birds. And it's not the same stuff you would use to take pictures of individuals in a studio environment, which, by the way, is not the same stuff you would use to take photos of a family getting portraited in a natural-esque environment, but outside. I'm like, are you serious? These are all completely separate disciplines. How is this even possible? Like,
And
how can that be?
even drilling down even further, I've had several different professional, like, artist photographers,
Yeah,
not like, oh, I have a nice camera and I'll do your band shots. Like, artist photographers do band shots, and they all do it differently. Like, their gear, their rigs. Now, I'm
yeah,
sure the principles are the same in terms of the lighting has to be right, but there are things that each of them does different. Like, the whole thing's different. The whole process is different. Photography's tricky.
this was my conclusion, was that my issue is not so much that I don't know how to take photographs. My issue is that I don't know enough about light.
Mm,
And if I do light study, then the rest of it will feel mechanical and will fall into place. But I understanding, where does light come from? How does it make shadows on things? And getting some formal instruction on how does light interact with other stuff will help me draw better. It'll help me. I mean, I don't paint much, but it'll help me paint better. It'll help me
yeah.
uh, take better pictures, etc. It'll help me light my studio better. Like, all this stuff will all come into place. And the foundational part is, where does light go and why, not how do you take a picture or how do you draw a thing or whatever else.
Yeah, but I mean, are we doing it? Like, are we
Well,
on
now we're
it?
talking about this.
Is
Now we're talking
it,
about. No,
is it our,
I brought the top. So I
because
brought the.
I like this discussion. I like
Okay,
because it's the light is not the thing.
what's
I
the
think
thing?
you're overestimating. The light is a huge part of the thing, but you have to be equal parts the thing, like the eye for the thing and the knowledge of how to capture the thing. That's at an art level. Now, if you're shooting family portraits, maybe most of that's light. But I think to capture things that are both regarded as critically, and that doesn't necessarily mean by a formal outlet, just critically, someone sees your picture, whatever, camera, whatever, they see your picture and they're like, oh, that's interesting, and it also looks fantastic. Like, the thing is as important as the process.
I almost, so I don't want. I want to get to proficient. So it actually may be harder to get here, but here's my example. Right, I went to an event. It was outside. I saw pictures of it on social media later, and there had been a professional photographer there, and I didn't like any of the pictures. I'm like, these pictures, and then in my head I said, well, I took pictures there with my phone. I think I got better pictures than these. I go back through, I had two pretty good pictures of this event, right? And the rest were either washed out, or the composition was wrong, or they just looked flat, or like somebody's head was chopped off, God forbid, like, amateur stuff like that. And I remember thinking, like, well, I hate all the pictures that the professional took, but I also mostly don't like the pictures that I took either. My target is, I want to be able to take a great picture at a thing that is, you know, relatively easy to photograph, but also is likely to be, people are expecting to see a good picture of it. And I want to take a passable, proficient, moderately proficient photograph of that thing. And I want it to sort of like capture what the thing was accurately, in the sense that the photo itself doesn't distract from it, but then there is no such thing as sort of a true or a genuine recreate. Once as soon as you're taking a picture, you're imparting the touch of the person that took the picture, right? So you can't get away from having your own fingerprint on it. But I'm trying to make it so that my, I don't know, my point of view. Maybe that's a bad choice of words for this example, but I want my point of view to basically be invisible to, a casual observer. And for if you're like I don't put any of this stuff on my Facebook page, but if you're just cruising my Facebook page, you'd be like, oh, here's Russ at the beach, looks like they had a great time. And instead of being like, oh, here are some pictures that look like the camera was dunked in a puddle of mud, and then like flying through the air while the shutter button was snapped.
Yeah. Well, I'm not ashamed to say this, I've had one 10-day stint on a dating website. I'll never do it again. I never did it before that. And it was mostly uh, an experience just to see, like, okay, how's this work?
Uh-huh.
I'm convinced that 99% of people would improve their odds of finding a match.
Love. Finding love.
Just take a better picture. Like, it doesn't mean you need to change or be done up. Just don't look like you're in a cave in Afghanistan. Like, just take a better picture. That's all. And the bathroom selfie thing, that's way too common amongst adults, like trying to secure a mate. There's a lot of things that I think just having moderately passive, moderately proficient photography skills are you can really sort of craft your image a lot better, and not just in that context but in a lot of contexts.
So what should a typical lonely heart give up in their life to get to passable photography skills?
Oh, well, that's the question,
That
right?
is the question.
Yeah. um well, I think in most instances there's probably way enough free time. Like, there's enough time to invest in passable photography skills.
Well, I'd say it's probably a safe bet, given that you're talking about dating sites. You could probably spend less time on the dating site and spend some of that
Yeah.
time on getting a flattering photo.
Or just get, like, just, oh, don't be in your bathroom.
Yeah, a toilet. If there's a toilet in your picture, any kind of toilet, any context, unless it's a picture about throwing up in the toilet because of how much fun you had that night, or it's like a grunge album cover,
There you go.
or it's ironic.
Yeah.
If there's a toilet in the picture, like you can't, don't use that for anything.
Yeah.
Just that one's gone. It's like if the frame was here, like if I'm here in the frame, here, I'll do it. If I'm here, just don't use these. It's
Yeah.
gone. Like there's nothing that you need that picture for. Get
Yeah.
another one, throw it out.
Yeah.
Same thing if there's a toilet. If there's personal care products
Oh,
partially used, gone.
well, let's just say mirrors. Like, probably eliminate a selfie in a mirror. Like the hold up the phone thing, you know?
I want to know. I don't feel like I have the skill to take a good dating site picture
Yeah,
of
you
myself.
of
I would
course
I
you
would have
do.
to have a friend. I know.
You,
Do you have in your mind what the picture you would use of yourself on a dating site would be?
if I were taking it myself,
No, if you were going to go on Bumble tomorrow and needed a new profile pic.
well, I've had that experience. I just said for 10 days, so I know what I know what photo I used then.
Yeah, but I mean now. Are you prepared?
Yeah, I just had some shots. I just had some headshots done back in, like, August or September. So I would use one of those.
More people should do that.
Get headshots done?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you mind me asking how much you paid?
A lot. But here's the deal. In line with everything that we're talking about here, I have a friend who's a well-known photographer, and she's not cheap. She's, and I got the friend discount, and it was still, for headshots, a fair amount of money.
Well, I mean, it's your face to the world. There
Yeah.
is the time it takes for a session. There's a little bit of overhead, and there's the time it takes to do post processing. None of
So
those are trivial.
so that's the thing. I was in her studio for 2+ hours. She physically took 600 pictures. Now, part of maybe that's the far right tail, and that's because we're friends and we were shooting a crap and taking a bunch of pictures. But yeah, there's that process. Then she goes through and eliminates the ones that there's something wrong with them, or she just knows they're bad pictures. Then she has me come in and give her an idea of 15 or 20 that I like, and then she has to edit them. So it's not a simple process, to do it right, and to like, that white glove feel where you look at a picture. And this is what I said to her, and she's like, that is exactly why I do what I do. I said, I feel like in the ones that I selected, I feel like the pictures capture how I see myself as a person. Like I feel
Yeah, that's
like,
like magic to get there.
yeah. And she's like, that is why I do what I do. And I thought that was neat.
Can I answer my own question too?
I forget. Oh yeah.
What picture would I use?
Yeah.
So, so two things. First, the reason I know that there's this one picture is because it's the best picture that was ever taken of me. Full sun at the beach. I'm like playing with the kids, and I have a bucket full of water, and the water is sloshing, and I'm carrying the water, and my like I'm in clothes, but my polo shirt is unbuttoned, and like the wind is just right, and I'm smiling, and
It's a Brooks Brothers picture.
yeah, it was fantastic. Best picture of me ever taken. And number one, it is the opposite of what you described. It's not how I see myself. I'm like, who is this guy? I don't look that good. this guy, this guy is much better looking than me because the light was just right. And then the other thing is, this picture was taken by my wife. So like, I can't put a picture my wife took on my dating website,
That's bad
no matter
karma.
the circumstances. I can't
Yeah.
do it.
I'd say you probably can't talk about putting a picture that your wife took of you on a dating website while she's still your wife.
I I just can't get over. There were she's taken two fantastic pictures of me in life. The other one we were probably this was like at least 10 years ago, probably more than that. And we were at the Grand Canyon and I was freezing my butt off, but it was the sun, like the sun showed up and I was just taking it all in and I was catching some rays on this chilly Grand Canyon dry day. We were there for a wedding in Vegas and we had driven to the Grand Canyon. It was a whole thing, and it's just like ear to ear smile, eyes closed, staring up, little lens flare. That's the second best picture we ever taken. But
Yeah.
anybody who saw that would know that that picture is not even remotely recent.
So is there I feel like there might be, it may be way down. We may have to dig for it, but I feel like there might be resentment because something tells me you probably make a habit of taking really good pictures of your wife.
I
And
try to.
you've got like two and she's got albums full.
No, I don't know. I mean, she was a photographer
Oh,
as a hobby at the same time I was, and she stayed into it longer than I did. But then we diverged, and the stuff I enjoy most taking pictures of now is either whatever's really easy to make look good. So like, full sun with a phone camera because the settings on the camera are basically dialed in for that,
yeah.
or like studio lighting where you have total control over the light, and you could be shooting it in a closet, but it ends up looking amazingly professional, despite the fact that you had three flashlights and I don't know, like a Lego action figure or something to set up the shot. But you
So
had total control over the whole thing.
I had an in-depth conversation. And I want to get the tactful form of this conversation. Um, I don't understand the whole female pose game in pictures, and I was trying to get an explanation for some of that. Do you know how extensive the library or the library, the guidebook is on how to pose for a picture for the ladies?
Probably 450 pages.
I mean, they're
Wait, what
they're
is it for dudes?
and I was joking about this. It's the finger point at the guy next to you. You know, that's the bro move. The either the double finger or the single finger point at the guy,
There
your
can't
arm
be a
around
book
him.
on that.
No, it's like you got a couple. You have a couple, the ladies have a lot, like the leg out and the arm on the hip, both arms on the hip. Like what I learned this. I learned this the other day that there's an emerging group of poses, like the arm down pose and the shoulder is drooped. I was like,
Wait, is
what?
this for studio photography? I'm getting
No,
confused between studio photography and the club.
this is the club, or it's brunch or girls' night out
Wait,
or whatever.
I'm sorry, I got to interrupt here. Do you go to brunch?
I've ne- that's the biggest waste of money in the culinary world.
I think most people aren't really there for the food.
Yeah, just to drink. I don't know.
It's for the socialization.
It's hard for me to get angry about brunch, but I don't do it.
You don't get fired up.
Nah.
Were you ever young?
Was I ever young?
Yeah.
It's funny that you say that. Because my daughter is kind of the same way. My parents were here this weekend, and
She was never young,
yeah, she's young now,
and
but
she was never young.
she's never young. She's never a baby.
Wait, hold on. I think I may have messed up your life timeline. So when you were 23,
Married.
you were already married.
I got married at
Okay.
23,
Did you have a kid yet?
27.
So no kids, but you're married.
Yeah.
Where'd you live when you were 23?
Um, had just moved to Louisville
Did you have a corporate job?
for 2 weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why you weren't going to brunch. You just weren't on the what is it, the hamster wheel? You weren't on the hamster wheel.
Yeah, that's not my style though. Brunch is not my style.
Yeah, but
It's
the hamster wheel of bringing up corporate Instagram models is also not your style.
yeah.
Were you ever on a path towards being like a like a farm bro,
No.
where you have all the traits of a corporate you know, what is it, analyst two, going to brunch wearing the same clothes as all of your buds and pointing the two finger at them, except you're doing it all on a farm.
No.
You weren't on that path either.
Yeah.
You just walked your own path.
Not by choice. Like not some Hunter S. Thompson novel. We were weird. My family was weird. I was raised weird. Um, I we're just it's just the default path of a man with no home.
What was your most unweird decade of your life
Now
by age?
40s.
So your 30s, where you are now. I got you. I'm looking out for you. You're
My biological
late
age.
30s.
My biological age or my chronological age?
You're exceptionally early 50s.
I'm not 50. I am not 50.
Are you gonna fight it when you turn 50?
No, I don't care. I do not care. Um,
They say it's not the age of the dog, it's the fight and the shoot.
that was
Dagger.
you just that's like classic George Bush. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, you can't get fooled again. That's what he went with.
Yeah. Good
That's
for
what
him,
he
man.
went with.
He rolled with it.
Yeah,
He rolled with it.
those Yale guys.
Is he? I forgot he was a Yale guy.
Yeah,
You know, he was part of the inspiration for me to try and become to try and learn Spanish. I'm not kidding. I was like, this dumb seeming
seeming
good old boy.
definitely not a good old boy.
Not by your definition.
No,
what would you call him?
that was such an effing persona.
This dumb looking baseball team owning.
His grandfather was Prescott Bush.
Can I don't know who Prescott Bush is.
Not a good old boy.
All right, so this persona waving brother of Jeb, Texas legacy.
Yeah.
I was like, if he can, honestly, if he can make an attempt to learn Spanish and then attempt to speak it publicly and not do a great job of it, but do an okay job of it, I could do that. Like I can put in an effort.
I'll just say we're not current eventy and political, so I'm going to stay off.
Well, he hasn't been president for at least 3 years.
I remember, and this is why I know this is like upside down, downside up time period.
Yeah.
I remember, and I was in that camp, how this guy was chided and viewed during his time as president.
Very poorly. He was viewed poorly.
Horribly.
Unbelievably poorly.
And now he's lionized in circles where it blows my mind.
Wait,
And
what kind of circles?
like in the art world, like him and Dick Cheney both. Like the Cheneys are in the NPR, like they're
Oh
part
my
of that
god.
crew. And I remember that not being the case then. So I think if you hang around long enough, regardless of how you're perceived at a given time, if you hang around long enough, I think you're looked on favorably as a relic of nostalgia, probably. But all your foolishness is sort of forgotten about.
You know what other President Bush did that I'm never gonna do, ever.
Try to scan milk on camera.
Jump out of an airplane.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he was known for his old age skydiving, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing it.
I miss that though. I miss that even the, you know, I use the term aristocratic loosely, but even the the wealthy people of up until about 50 years ago, by and large, had to be in the services and had to participate in the military, and war um, affected them a lot as well. And
I
I
mean, to be clear, George H.W. Bush was jumping out of airplanes for fun in his 80s, not because he was in the service in his 80s.
well, yeah, not in his 80s, but I think he had previously been in the military. In fact, I'm positive he was, and I know his father was. I know Prescott was.
Now, look, if I get drafted to the Kanye American Army in 2033, when we're losing a shooting war with China, the Russians have overtaken all of our cyber systems, and we're scraping the bottom of the barrel for 50-plus-year-old conscripts to go be dropped in behind enemy lines, and they're throwing me out of an airplane to parachute. Look,
Different story.
I won't be happy about it, but that may be a scenario where I'm jumping out of an airplane.
You don't think war ever is happening like that again, though, do you?
I
I
didn't
mean,
used to.
in third world countries, it is, or in
No, no, no.
emerging countries.
That is some never happen hereism. That like my never happen hereism. That's gone. I mean, there is nothing separating us from the third world.
No, I mean, war is no longer. We're going to send 300,000 people into your land, and we're going to line up and shoot at each other.
Yeah, that was like a super deeply held position of mine for a long time. Was that it's never going to be like that again.
It's not.
And then I got older, and then I saw the places where war was that more often, and then I'm like, oh man, we are going to do that again. We're
Nah,
definitely going to do that again.
not
It'll
going to
be
happen here.
all the other stuff that you imagine. You know, the cyber war, the financial war, the subterfuge, the politicking. All that's going to happen too. But we're definitely going to have a first world shooting war again.
I don't think
Totally
so.
going to happen. I hope it's not while either of us are alive. I hope it's not while my kids are alive.
No, I don't think so. I think maybe like an EMP or some advanced weapon system that just fries the grid or something like that. It would be pointless. It would that sort of shooting war between first world powers would be pointless because the systems are so advanced now. Like we're I see it like this. And what do we know?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
What
This is
do
two useless takes, but please I want
yeah.
to keep yeah,
Not
tell me. Finish your thought.
not only what do we know, we don't know anybody who knows. Well, you might because you're in DC, but I don't know
Hold on,
anybody that knows.
finish your thought though. How is the end time war going to happen between first world countries?
Well, that's just it. It's not. Here's my thing. No one is ever, mark my words. Now,
Marked.
the aliens or whatever, maybe, but no planet that exists today on the earth is going to send their boats of men and women or whatever to this country. We will never be invaded. Ever. Never happen. Unless
I shared your view very strongly and have changed my mind. But what's your unless?
unless there's a famine, and our fight our all of the males south of Kentucky die off, then there might be a chance for somebody to send their boats to the states, to our shores.
Here's my rationale boiled down, right? So that there's more nuance to my story here, but I'm going to stick with the most blunt object point. For all of human history, we've hit each other in the head, and then we hit each other in the head with sticks, and then we hit each other in the head with sticks that we threw, and then we shot at each other. I skipped over a couple of ways we threw rocks at each other, but now we,
Some weapons
yeah,
missing in there.
but now we throw big, big little rocks that blow up at each other, and I just don't think anything's changed. You know, like we're gonna keep doing it. And
Yeah.
there's always been the society that's on top or the civilization that's on top where it can't happen there. And on one hand, civilizations often fall slowly where they decline as opposed to, implode or explode. So I'm with you there. Like for example, if like a scenario where the United States is no longer the, I don't know, hegemonic exception that we would call it now. Hegemon just means you're like, and I'm not saying this for you, but like it means you're the dominant global power in the system, and it creates stability by your, your massive disproportionate amount of global, power and influence. So if that system changes and now all of a sudden like there's 5 or 6 countries that are at the top vying for power, well now we're not in the same situation that we're in now anyway. So now you could easily argue, you specifically in this case, you'd be like, well, that's not the same America that I was talking about not being invaded. It's a completely different scenario. So yeah,
Yeah.
America as it stands now is not getting invaded with a boots on ground war.
No. No. But you don't have to do that anymore.
No,
There
you can,
are
like every webcam that gets sold to watch babies. That's all, like all the footage of that is just being stolen and put on foreign servers. So it's like, no, you're like, why would anybody care about that? Okay, well, it's you get to see into somebody's house, which is super weird, and only the biggest creepers would do that. And then it's like you're watching like a mom come in and nurse a baby in the middle of the night on some freaking night vision thing, and all that stuff goes on to some foreign server that you have no access to. That's not, it's like there's every single one of them has been hacked with a known hack. This is how I got into cybersecurity. Was I was looking for a webcam that
have you
wasn't gonna.
started have you started a honeypot yet? That's all I want to
I
know.
got distracted with. I got distracted.
No honeypots.
No, I'm making
I'm gonna get
progress.
Larry on the
Since
phone.
since we talked about the honeypot, I have made progress on a small laboratory manufacturing cell project. So I'm not doing nothing, but the honeypot specifically. But the
maybe
Terry, the
maybe maybe we should have a Happy Job honeypot.
happy honeypot.
Sponsored. We'll sponsor a Happy Job honeypot, which means the cheapest gear we can find. And
Hey, nobody wants to put together an expensive throwaway hacking target like
yeah.
that. Why spend money on that?
Yeah.
Terry, I'm exhausted from this, which is good. I'm both invigorated and exhausted.
Great. You know what I love? And I 1,000,000% mean this. This is why I enjoy doing this. We came in with the
I
intention
had a
of
very serious plan.
this go in a different direction. Couple questions about a camera, and we're ending up with World War III discussion. I love that.
I mean, I had two different full episodes to do. I had one episode that will repeat, and I had a second episode which was basically just, Terry, here's some stuff that's happened in my life. Can you believe all these things? I mean, it's nothing dramatic, but it would have made for, I was interested to give you updates and hear back, and we didn't get to any of it, none of it,
Yeah.
because we had to talk about photography and global invasions.
Well, there are good thing for us. There are other days.
Yeah, man, back at it tomorrow.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
God. See you then.
Looking forward to it.